Okay, picture this. You just got offered a new role in your company or maybe a new job altogether. The problem is that it's in a whole different city, or maybe state or province than you're actually currently located in now. So to do that, you actually have to uproot your entire life. So that means finding a new school for the kids. It means that your husband or wife has to find a new job as well. And another key factor is that you also have to find a new church. But the benefit is that you might get better pay or new opportunity, or maybe it's just time for a change. So you decide that it's worth it. So you guys pack a U-Haul up and you move to that new city. After settling in for a little bit longer, after you move there, you then decide, well, it's time to start finding a new church. So what do? Well, if you're like most other people, you'll probably go onto the internet, you'll Google churches near me, and then up comes a whole list of churches. Depending on the size of the city, it will range from your run-of-the-mill Baptist church to maybe a liturgical church to maybe even your more trendy Pentecostal church, the ones with the pastors with the ripped jeans. Just saying, those are all the different churches that can exist from A to Z. After finding a few that align somewhat with your values or the denomination that you feel you belong to, you then narrow your search. So you pick a few and you go through their website. So you click on one of them. Let's say you found one that sounds like a good idea. Insert name of church here. You click on the website, you open it up, and then, oh my gosh, that website looks like it was made in 1994. Is that Comic Sans that we see here? Does that link even work? What were those pictures taken with? A calculator? Unfortunately, this is a very common issue with church websites, or any website period. Many people's websites are just outdated. But what message does that send to that person, to this hypothetical you that is looking for a church? Well, to most people who see that, they might think, well, this church doesn't even manage their own website, so they must not manage themselves right. I know it sounds harsh, but that's really how people might think. Now, we can always hope that some people might not be, that intense, and we'll give the church a shot no matter what. But the reality is it's not really reality anymore. Up until a few years ago, we judged a church, a potential new church or a church that we're just visiting out of town or whatever, by its main entrance, by its foyer or whatever you call it, depending on where you're geographically located. Think about this. You walk through the door and you see, are you going to be greeted? Are people going to smile and welcome you warmly? Is there a welcome booth? Is there, a clear step to take next? Do you have to find your way into the sanctuary yourself? Is there some sort of guides or whatever? That's basically what you had to do. Nowadays, that step isn't actually even step number 1. It's more like step number 3. Step number 1 is they'll visit your website first. Step number 2 is that they'll check out a message or two on your website. So that's 2 digital steps right there. Then step number 3 is that they'll actually visit your church. So now 2 out of the 3 steps are digital. The thing is that you will have a hard time getting to step number 3 if step number 1 isn't even up to standard. So what goes into a good website? Let's break it down to 5 key elements that I think are vital to a good website that brings people in. The first element that is key to having a good church website is your homepage. Now, you can think of a homepage as kind of like your digital welcome booth. So let's picture what a welcome booth actually looks like. Well, first of all, you're probably going to have a smiling face that's actually motioning you over to the welcome booth. Hello, welcome to church. Ideally, hopefully you don't have a grumpy old man who's going, "Hey, get off my lawn, you darn kids." Well, hopefully not. It's the same thing with the website. Smiling faces. You're going to have a warm and inviting welcome. A good first impression, dare I say. The second thing that a good welcome booth will have is the current events that are happening. So same thing with the homepage. You're going to have the events that are about to happen or that maybe will normally happen in your church. So maybe it's a barbecue, or maybe it's like a men's group, or maybe it's alpha class, or anything that you think is important to note. The third thing that a welcome booth might have is, of course, the list of ministries that occur within your church. So, the kids club, the youth group, the moms and tots, or whatever that you have, and it's not like a huge presentation for each ministry. It's probably just a brochure with the key facts and figures, or maybe not even a brochure. Maybe it's just one poster with just the times that it's going to happen. The last thing that a homepage would have is maybe your latest message. Now that's a digital exclusive element to a welcome page, or the homepage. Now that's a digital only element, because let's think about it. You probably won't have your latest message at your welcome booth. I guess you could, but that would be very odd. Not to mention probably just impractical. I don't think anyone's gonna stand there that long and watch your message. Maybe they will. Maybe you're just really engaging. I hope you're really engaging. That'd be really cool. I'd go to your church. The second thing that you should have on your website, if you want it to be a good church website, is a plan a visit button. And along with the plan a visit button, a plan a visit page. Another name for plan a visit might be I'm new. So there's a little bit of variance about how churches break that up, but no matter what, you need to have an invitation for new people to feel like they are invited. Think about this. In the business world, on any good business website, you will have up on the top of the website what's called the home hero. And the home hero, that's the technical term for it. You might also call it a header. It's the first part of the homepage of a website. Up on the top there, you'll actually have a button that says purchase now. Think about maybe Apple. It'll have purchase the latest iPhone now, and you'll actually have a purchase button. That isn't much different for churches. Business websites have a way to convert, and I don't mean to Christianity, but again, it's not much different when it comes to churches. Instead of trying to convert people to buying the latest and greatest toaster, however, we're trying to accomplish something even greater, and that is salvation through Jesus Christ. Now, your plan a visit or I'm new page on your website, it'll tell you, kind of who you guys are in a nutshell. It'll tell you what to expect. It'll tell you where your services are, where your church is, and it'll tell you what time the services are. So to further break it down, it'll tell you kind of what to dress. It'll tell you what the worship's like. It'll tell you kind of what to expect when they first show up. Will they be greeted like VIPs, or will people kind of let them enter in on their own? That's fully up to you, and however your philosophy is as a church and what you feel called to be. But at least you're letting people know what to expect. Number 3, the next important thing that you should have on a good church website is maybe a latest message or messages. Now, this sounds a little bit shallow, but people will actually watch you and watch how you present yourself as a church and watch a few of your sermons before they actually visit. They're going to see what type of sense of humor you have. They'll see how your content is. Is it very theologically like dense, or is it going to be more topical? I'm not trying to get into theology here. I frankly don't care. It's just based on what you guys feel like as a church you feel called to be. But no matter what, you're going to have a certain type of person that's going to feel more inclined to one church or the other, oftentimes. So they're going to watch those videos. Now, 10 years ago, this wasn't as much of a thing. People would just visit your church and see whether or not they liked the service or not. And if they liked the first service, then they'll stay for a few more Sundays, and eventually they'll just stay forever. That's what we hoped for, right? There's an extra step before that, like I mentioned earlier, which is they'll watch your message. So they'll watch you for maybe even a few weeks, maybe even a few months before they actually step foot in your church. Now, whether we agree with that or not, that's just the reality of what people do now. And that is why it's important to have a decent live stream or pre-recorded message. That's a whole different subject to dive into, and maybe I'll do that next time in a different video. Let me know if you want to hear that. And this isn't just limited to millennials and Generation Z. This is also Gen X and Boomers. They also watch the videos, watch your sermons first before they decide to visit in person. Again, this isn't a rule that everyone does this. This is just what the statistics typically say and what most people are doing in today's culture and society. Number 4, a staff page. Now, there's a little bit of debate. Some people think that you should have a staff page, some people don't think so. I'm definitely in the camp of people that think you should have a staff page. I think it's actually incredibly important. When I visit a church website, one of the first pages I go to is the staff page. I'd like to see kind of who's running the ship, who's the captain of the ship, or in less nerdy terms, who's leading the church. Now, that might seem, again, vain, or it might seem shallow that people would base your church on your own appearance, but it is true. How are you guys dressed in your staff photos? Are people wearing suits, or are they wearing more, modern day contemporary clothes? Are they even wearing any clothes at all? Is this some weird, kind of shirtless church? Just kidding. On the staff page, it'll have, your title. It'll have maybe a 2-sentence bio, 3, 4. I'd say 4 at the most. We're not looking for a full biography of why you like pineapple on your pizza. It's more just a quick outline of who you are. Some churches go with having the lead pastors have an entire section on the staff page to describe kind of who they are in more depth, and then the rest of the staff have smaller descriptions. That's solely up to however you feel is important. The thing is that a staff page will help people understand if they belong in your church or not. And I mean, come on, it's really not that much different than the theological zealot who emails you every Sunday after your message saying, I didn't agree with that message, and gives you a huge 10-point analysis of why your sermon was biblical or whatever. And you know who I'm talking about. All right, so number 5. Pictures and media on your website. That is another very important key element to having your church website, is having photos and video on your website. I'm not talking about just messages. This is a whole different subject. A picture tells 1,000 words, and a video probably, I don't know if this is actually a saying, but a video might say 1,000,000. I'm making that up. I don't mean stock footage. And I also don't mean pictures taken on your flip video from 10 years ago. I'm talking about professional looking photos taken on like a DSLR or maybe a camera on your phone, as long as the phone is like 4 years old or newer. It's not really hard to have a person in your congregation use a DSLR. Some people actually have one. I'm sure someone in your church probably has a DSLR. or even just a phone. It can be an iPhone, as long as it's 4 years old or newer. We want a certain quality of picture. And worst case scenario, if you don't have access to a good camera or a photographer in your church, even if they're a hobbyist, then you can always hire a professional. It's really just a few $100s for them to come during a service and take a few pictures. At the very least, just have some decent pictures, and ideally maybe video as well. It's really going to help visitors who are on your website get a feel for who you are and what you're all about. So that's it. Those are the 5 key elements I would have on a good church website. Whether that is a website built by you using Wix or Weebly or Squarespace, or a professional website prepared by someone like me using Webflow or Custom Code, or dare I say it, WordPress. No matter what, you need these 5 key elements. That's it. That's all. Please don't forget to like my video, subscribe to my page. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you next time.